Good morning, students. Barin Bhaumik's ailment. In my first conversation with you, I told you about the background of the story, and the story begins with a lot of suspense, with a person traveling in the same compartment, and suddenly the passenger feels that there is no one in the compartment. He feels at ease, and at the last moment, when train was about to leave the platform, suddenly one passenger, co-passenger, appears, and his presence gave a jolt to the fellow passenger. Now the question arises, what sort of jolt? Why he was so shocked to see the person? And in later part of the story, we shall come to know about this secret. This revelation is going to be delight for readers, and let us see how the suspense is ended. Now, when the co-passenger comes into the compartment, the other one did not recognize the fellow passenger. So at one point, he was feeling rather relaxed that he hasn't recognized him, because there was a reason which I will tell you in my later on when I describe you. I will tell you why he was so worried and why he was so shocked. But the point is that when the fellow who comes, and the fellow passenger, the hero, the main character of the story, recognizes, has a some sort of reminiscences in his mind, and he thinks that this person has some C. He has relation with C. That is, his surname is either Chaudhary, Chatterjee, or Chakravarti. He was just thinking, putting stress on his mind, and then he feels that he is the same person with whom he has traveled long back. Now, the reason for not recognizing the fellow passenger, as he himself gives the description, that by this time, because lot of time has passed and he has gained lot of weight, and presumably his face is now, it looks fuller than before. In those days, he did not wear glasses also, and the main thing was that he had mustaches, but now his mustaches had gone. Now he was just thinking, when did he shave them off? And he realizes that suddenly, once upon a time, when he had gone to salon on Hazra Road, and the barber was young, and he trying to trim his mustache, he noticed that he has not done his work job properly, and as a result, he removed his mustache. So he was he's thought that when he had a trimmed mustache, everybody started commenting on it, and then he finally shaved off his mustaches. So this had happened about 4 years ago, and because of no mustaches, the fellow passenger was not able to recognize him. Now he had lost the mustaches, and he had gained bit of flesh on his cheeks, and he was wearing glasses also. So this appearance, this change appearance, was a lot of assurance for him, because he knew that the fellow passenger will not be able to recognize him so well. Now, Barin Bhaumik, he was thinking that what is it now, how this man would recognize him? Was this a man bit like that? Then he was, now at this time, he became rather confused and perplexed also, and he thought that maybe he's not the person whom he's suspecting of, because he just reminds of an incident when, as he was traveling in a bus, he touched somebody else's hand, and then he realized that he is not the real fellow. So maybe he's not that person, maybe he's confused, but then he did not think about it. And but all this thinking caused him lot of stress, and there was beads of perspiration on his forehead. Then he thought that it's better to forget everything. He stretched himself out on his berth and he covered his eyes with the left arm. Then now he starts recalling the incident vividly. He could remember that how he had a habit of kleptomania, of stealing things, and he started remembering every little thing he had stolen in his life. He thought of insignificant things like ballpoint, magnifying glass, pair of bone cufflinks, then many more things. He stole these and for the matter. And between the ages of 12 and 25, he had removed around 50 different things from various people and made a collection in his house. What could one call it but stealing? But the only difference with this was that he was not a regular thief, because he had a urge to commit theft, and that was because of his disease, and this was the medical term for it. And he also came to know about it when he went to doctor, and the doctor told him that it is his medical this is the disease which is termed as kleptomania. Now, Baran, he remembers how he stole C's clock and other things, and that clock was a Swiss traveling clock which was made in Switzerland. Then Baran suddenly thinks that how today, even today, the clock was resting within his bag, which was kept on the table. His thought process was given a it was broken by suddenly when the other person led into the conversation, and he said, how far you're going? Baran gave a violent start. The other man was actually speaking to him. Delhi. Pardon? Delhi. The first time, in an effort to disguise his voice, Baran had spoken so softly that the men had clearly not heard him. Do you find it a bit too cold in here? Is that what's affecting your voice? No, it can happen, of course. Actually, I would have preferred going by ordinary first class if it hadn't been for the dust. Baran did not utter a word. He did not want to look at C, but his own curiosity forced him to cast frequent glances in C's direction. Now, when the C was indulged in conversation, Baran couldn't help looking at him, and he was just making sure whether he is recognizing him or not. And they had been traveling by Amritsar Mail, and then he just thought of that incident. All this, I can say that meeting at the at present meeting at present when he was involved in he was indulged in conversation with the fellow passenger, he is reminded of that incident which occurred in his life, and that was when he was traveling by Amritsar Mail, and it was supposed to reach Patna at 5 a.m. Suddenly, the conductor came and woke Baran at 4:30, and he was also half awake. C2 was half awake because he had to go to Delhi. Then, just in about 3 minutes before the train was to reach Patna, suddenly something happened, and the train did not stop at the usual halt. And the reason was that some old men had been run over by the engine while crossing the track, and C got very excited. He just clambered down quickly in the dark. And it was during this brief absence that Baran had removed the clock from C's bag. And when C came back to his seat, what happened? He took the clock out and dropped it into his own case, and then Baran got off safely at Patna, and he was met by his uncle. Now, this was the incident which had occurred at Patna station. And now, after so many years, he never imagined in his life that once again he is going to meet his fellow passenger. Then, fellow passenger was still in a mood to talk to him. So he says, "Do you live in Delhi or Calcutta?" He asked a lot of questions. Then Baran said, "Calcutta." "Oh no," he had spoken in his normal voice. Now, why he was pretending? He was just trying to disguise himself so that C can't recognize him. So he says, "Good God, why was the man staring so hard at time?" Then he says, "Did your photograph come out in the paper recently?" Then Baran realized. He said, "Yes, um, somebody must have recognized him because now Baran was a famous singer." So he said, "Where did you see the photograph?" Baran, he threw a counter question and he says, "Do you sing?" "Yes." Then your name is Barinnath Bhaumik. "Yes, yes, I see." "Oh, you sing on the radio, don't you?" "Yes." Then he says, "My wife is an admirer of yours, and if you are you going to Delhi to attend some function?" Then Baran, he said, "Yes, I have a friend in Delhi," and then says, I know one Bhaumik in Delhi. He's in the finance ministry, and his name is Nitish Bhaumik." Now, this Nitish Bhaumik was Baran's first cousin, and he says, he told her, I said, I don't know him." Then lunch came, and they had lunch, and then they had black tea. The best thing was that he was not saying anything about that theft. Now, Baran lay down on his berth. He was again and again hiding his face, and he was reading, but his mind was not at peace because Illustrated Weekly had dropped from his hand, and arm was flung across his eyes, and all the time the noise of the wheels. Now, the writer gives a very beautiful description. I would like to read those lines before you. Baran looked out of the window. Open fields, trees, little huts, the barren landscape of Bihar flashed past. The noise of the wheels came very faintly through the double glass of the windows, sounding as though in the far distance a number of drums were being beaten in the same steady rhythm. Dha dinat, na dinat, dha dinat, na dinat. Now, why this dha dinat, na dinat? Because we can just imagine that he was a singer, so he was thinking in those terms. He was looking at everything with the musical observation, with the musical note. Then suddenly C starts snoring, and then Baran was very much sure now. Okay, he said that he start humming a Nazrul song, and he cleared his throat to sing more loudly. Then suddenly he realized that something else, there is a noise, and that noise was the sound of an alarm clock, because the alarm clock, which was already kept in the bag, it continued to ring non-stop. Now, this was too much for him because Baran discovered he couldn't move his limbs. He was paralyzed with fear. His eyes fixed themselves on C. C moved his arm, Baran stiffened. C was now awake. He removed his arm from his eyes. "Is it that glass? Could you please remove it? It's vibrating against the wall." Now, till that time also, C did not realize that it is the voice of an alarm clock. So he said, "Is it the glass that is vibrating? Can you move it?" Now, Baran took the glass out of the iron ring attached to the wall. Then he held to his throat, but he was still in no mood to start singing again. Then tea was served, then 2 cups of hot tea, and C helped him to relax more. Then again he was humming softly, and at Gaya, C got down on the platform and he brought 2 peanuts, and he just offered peanuts to Baran. Baran was in such a great tension that he consumed the whole packet with considerable relish. And sun had set by the time they left the station. C switched the lights on, he said, "Are we running late? What's the time on your watch?" Then Baran realized for the first time that C was not wearing a watch. This surprised him and he could not help but show it. Then he remembered that C's question had not been answered. He glanced at his wristwatch and he said, "It is 7:35, he said. Then we were running more or less on time. Yes, my watch broke this morning. It was an HMT, gave excellent time, but this morning someone pulled my bedsheet so hard that the watch fell on the ground." And Baran did not comment because any mention of watches and clocks was reprehensible. "What make is your watch?" asked C. "HMT. Does it keep good time?" "Yes. Actually, I have always been unlucky in the matter of clocks." Now, this statement was a turning point in the story. Baran tried to yawn simply to assume an unconcerned air, but the muscles in his jaw appeared to be paralyzed. He could not open his mouth. His ears continued to function. He was forced to hear all that what C was saying. Now C said, "I once had a Swiss traveling clock, you see, made of gold. A friend of mine had brought it from Geneva. I'd used it for barely a month and was carrying it with me on a train to Delhi. Exactly like this, in an air conditioned compartment like this. There were only two of us, another Bengali chap. Do you know what he did? Just think of his daring. In my absence, while I may have gone to the bathroom or something, he nicked that clock from me. He looked such a complete gentleman, but I suppose I'm lucky he didn't murder me in my sleep. I stopped traveling by train after that. This time too, I would have gone by air, but the pilot's strike upset my plans." Baran Bhomik's throat was dry. His hands felt numb, but he knew if he said absolutely nothing after a tale like that, it would sound odd. In fact, it would seem distinctly suspicious. With a tremendous effort, he forced himself to speak. Now, how he says, did did you not look for it? Ah, can any stolen object be found simply by looking for it? But for a long time I could not forget what the man looked like. Even now I have a vague recollection. He was neither fair nor dark, had a moustache, and must have been about the same height as you, but was slimmer. If I could meet him again, I would teach him a lesson he would remember all his life. I was a boxer once, a light heavyweight champion. That man is lucky our paths never crossed again. Now, this much of conversation, my dear students, you can imagine how Baran must have felt at this moment. There was a sigh of relief that C is not recognizing, but this time his prayers, he must be praying hard from his heart so that he doesn't realize that he is the same thief for whom he was looking since long. And he said that I had been a boxer, I would have given a punch because I couldn't forget that theft. It was a valuable gift for me, and that gift is really, it was too much that somebody has stolen from me. So that's the second part of my story. And let us, in my third conversation with you, I will be telling how this mysterious story came to an end, how it was given a concluding shape to it. But since up to this stage, since it began, I must appreciate the writer. The narrative is done in a very powerful manner, and how there is an amount of humor also, and lot of suspense, and lot of feelings which have been reflected through lines in this story. So at this point we give a break, and then in my third part of the story I will tell you, I will explain it to you, and definitely you will enjoy the end, the concluding part of this story. So, okay, bye bye. See you again.